This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by the RACV Solar Great Ocean Road Running Festival. Secure your registration now at greatoceanroadrunfest.com.au. Enjoy the episode.
Your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Undercover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode number 282 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Very big show coming at you this week. Got some results from the Brisbane Track Classic, some huge doping news out of New Zealand. World Athletics make a call on the transgender athletes, and Moose on the Loose, Listen to Question, all the other segments that you come to expect of the Inside Running Podcast. Welcome to my co-host down in Anglesea. Just telling me off air is a bit tired. Julian Spence, welcome to Monday night recording.
Thanks, mate. I am tired, actually. Reckon I got some sickness or something.
It's a bit going around, Moose, sickness. I know a lot of people who are sick at the moment.
Your baby?
My baby vomited today everywhere, all over the couch, which was wonderful. Good cleaning up job from me. But, bits happening, bit going around. A few stomach bugs, I reckon.
Yeah, my baby's just leaking from the nose and mouth. Just so much spit and snot getting around.
That's good. Hopefully you can get through this show with plenty of energy, eh? Just turn up the gusto for the next 60, 70 minutes to get the listeners through maybe a run they're just about to start.
Yeah, I've clocked on.
On. Other co-host. This bloke's always clocked on, Moose. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Bradley Croker, the 217 man from Canberra. Welcome to you for this week.
Thanks, Brady. Good to be here.
You got good levels of gusto, good energy levels?
I'm not sick, but I am also tired. I don't know whether it's the time of the term. Like the days at work are definitely a lot tougher than the first few weeks of term. The kids are starting to climb the walls and had a pretty heavy back end of the week training-wise, from a volume point of view. So maybe that sort of caught up with me a little bit.
Okay, you want to go first this week? Tell us about this training.
Yeah,
How many weeks are you from Sydney 10?
So it's 6 weeks from yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you're
still
in the
a
middle
little.
of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to compare to where I was this time last year, and I reckon early on, so maybe a month ago, I reckon I was further advanced, whereas now I feel like I'm probably not going quite as well as I was this time last year. And I was thinking about it. I was doing one session a week last year on the treadmill, and the good thing about it was everything was so controlled, and I was probably underdoing some of the sessions, and I was just feeling better on all my other runs. Whereas, when you're outside doing sessions, you just can't, you can use heart rate to control it, but probably a couple of my sessions have been on the harder end of the scale, which is just another reason to maybe underdo sessions rather than overdo them, because I feel like sometimes as runners, if you've got like a rough guide of where you want to be on the day, you're generally always at the faster end of it, whereas maybe even 5 seconds a K slower, you're still going to get most of the same benefit, but pull up a bit better. So anyway, my week, Monday, I did an hour, 4:19s at Mulligan's. Tuesday, I got home from work, and because most of the group raced on the Sunday, there wasn't an organised group session for Tuesday afternoon. So I got home, I'd had a pretty shit day at work. It was about to bucket down rain. And so I've sort of become reliant on the group a little bit the last, or however long we've been meeting, like 6 to 8 weeks. And I just was not motivated to go out and do a session. Plus, I find the Monday, Tuesday combo of, I don't see my kids much at all, on Monday, Tuesday, because I work, I come home, I go for a run, by the time I get home for a run, the kids are pretty much going to bed, and then do the podcast. Tuesdays work, and then I go out and train with the group Tuesday afternoon. So I don't get home till 7:30 when the kids are already in bed. So I thought the fact that there's no group session and I was just wrecked from work, I'm like, stuff it. I'll just take the afternoon off and spend more time with the family, thinking that maybe I'd get up and push my session back to Wednesday morning and then just do Wednesday, Saturday sessions. But then I woke up Wednesday and I'm like, if I do that, I don't get to train with the group on Friday. So I'm just going to, forget the Tuesday session. So I did a midweek long run and, I felt pretty good on this run. Obviously I took Tuesday off. And so I decided just to run, I guess, Moose, what do you call it? Like, you have like regenerative runs and is EP, whatever it is.
GNEP.
Yeah. So this one was just that, like, if I'd done a session the day before, I probably would have run a little bit easier. And so, I did 90 minutes, 4:08 through Mulligans. So that was quite an enjoyable run. And then Thursday morning, I just found if I have to run for like an hour after work, it's become a real grind, especially if at the moment I've been like 6 lessons of PE straight. So like they're pretty tough days, and then you get home and the last thing you want to do is then go out and run for an hour. So I set the alarm for Thursday morning to get up and to get my main run done in the morning, so that if I came home and I was tired from work, I didn't have to go out and do like a second run. And so got out for an hour, but I just ran from home just on the bike paths. It was quite enjoyable actually, like once I got up and saw the sunrise. So I did an hour at 4:23s. And then got home from work and then just jumped on the treadmill for about half an hour at 5-minute Ks. Then the Friday session was down at Lake Burley Griffin, 25-minute tempo, and then 3-minute jog, followed by 5 45-second reps with 1 minute rest in between. I put on the Zebras for the second time ever, and I didn't like the session went well. Like I averaged 3:18s for the 25-minute tempo. Felt a bit clunky in them. I just don't know if I was hitting the right spot. And I find sometimes in the mornings, like if my back's a bit tight, I don't get my hips up and I don't feel like I sort of land underneath myself quite as much. I feel like I maybe heel strike a bit more, and I could just feel myself, I don't know, that wedge at the heel. It just didn't feel smooth to me. So I just don't think it would be my marathon shoe, whereas I feel like I get more pop or consistent pop from like the Alpha Fly. So I averaged 3:18s for the 25-minute tempo. I think my average heart rate for that was about 163. Jogged 3 minutes at 4:30 kilometre pace, and then ran about 250 K pace for the 45-second reps. So it was a decent session. I did actually pull up sore the next morning through my calves, which I don't know whether it was like I have run like 250 K pace at the horse track before and haven't, in the last few weeks, and haven't pulled up sore at all. So I don't know whether those shoes did cause my calves to pull up pretty sore, but anyway.
Maybe the concrete as well.
Yeah, maybe the concrete. Yeah, maybe a combination.
Do you do tempo threshold, Croak? Same word?
Same thing.
Yep.
So I guess it's sort of, 60-minute race pace, I suppose.
Jeez, is that heart rate monitor? Look how even that is.
You like that?
That's
were you running the heart rate?
That's working well, that heart rate monitor.
Yeah, the heart rate strap's really good. Like I think I said a few weeks ago that if I get above 170, I know I'm working, like you sort of go into that next zone. So I tried to keep it under 170. I may have just hit 170, but most of it was probably like mid 160. Like once it sort of got up, took a little while to get up, and then it was probably sitting in that sort of mid 160s. But like that being said, like I could have, run maybe 5 seconds a K slower, which would have put me at like low to mid 320s, and I probably would have got just as much benefit from the session. And maybe my heart rate was probably then like maybe 160 average instead of 163 or 4. But I think it was a pretty good session.
It was good.
Not too bad.
Got to have that up. Like not doing it broken as well is a lot harder.
Yeah. Well, I reckon there's a lot I reckon those longer tempos are also good mental training, because it's very easy to, if I do one I often do is like 8-minute tempo and then pick the pace up for 2 minutes and then have 90-second jog. Mentally, you're always like having a change of stimulus, or that you're getting a 90-second like slow jog recovery coming up. Whereas this one, you're 10 minutes in and it's not easy, but you know that you still got like 15 minutes to go at this, and so it becomes mentally a bit more of a grind, especially when you haven't done them for a while. And that's what I also find with the marathon sessions. Like the first time you do a session that's sort of 40 plus minutes, you're like, whew, that's tough. But then the next time you go back, it's a lot easier. So I reckon there's a lot of value in that continuous tempo as opposed to like broken ones. Then Friday afternoon, I did get out for a double at Mulligan's, 7.5K at 4:19s. Saturday morning, did an hour out at Mulligan's. I listened to Coffee Club podcast. I haven't listened to them for probably like 4 to 6 weeks, and they're doing this Q&A, and I almost had to turn it off because for so much of it, they just weren't even talking about running, which is why I would listen to that podcast. A bit like us, I suppose, when we talk about dogs. But they had a good like half an hour on like video games and Harry Potter and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, oh.
People love dogs. People fucking love dogs.
We move on quickly.
I love dogs more than I love like Harry Potter and computer games.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? Those American-based pro runners, they're the biggest nerds in the world. They all play fucking PlayStation all day.
Yeah. Well, Geordie Beamish doesn't. He's against the computer games.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
What's he doing in his spare time?
Don't know. Reads a bit.
Oh yeah, he seems pretty smart.
Watches Netflix and stuff. Yeah. So, and then Sunday morning, I met up with one of the guys that I coach, Andrew Lake. He used to be a pretty like top level cyclist, but he's turned to running. So I did 2 hours at 4:10 through Mulligan's, and this was significantly harder than my 30K at 4-minute Ks the week before. Like, there wasn't a massive amount of elevation. It was like maybe 200 and what was it, 280. So it's not huge, but it just goes to show like my legs were more banged up after an hour at this than it was like after 2 hours at 4-minute Ks around the lake. And then I had a run in. So Andrew did like an hour 45, and so I left him for the last 15 minutes. And then I was on this like path. So it was actually out of the nature reserve. And I've come around this corner, and about 50 meters up the road, there's this lady like waving her arms at me saying, "Don't come on this path. Don't come on this path. There's a kangaroo that's broken its leg." And I'm like, well, this is the path that I run on. Like, how does she know that I don't live around the corner and that's the way I'm running home? And the kangaroo wasn't even on the path. It was like up against a fence about 15 meters away from the path. So she's like abusing me. And so I gave it back to her. I mean, like, what am I meant to, am I meant to like change where I'm running because there's a kangaroo that's like 15 meters away with a broken leg? And I was going to stop. I was going to turn around and go back and say, do you realise that in about a month's time, we won't be able to run in Mulligan's Flat because it'll be blocked off because they'll be killing kangaroos in there? Like, it really just pissed me off that he was somebody telling me, telling me that I couldn't be on that path because there's a kangaroo with a broken leg when they're going to kill them in a month's time anyway. Anyway. So I did, 2 hours, 4:10s, and a week of like 126. But it was heavily, my last 5 days was 100 just over 110. So
average pace for the week, Moose. Have a guess what it was. Just looked him up.
4:03.
4:15.
Not that quick.
Is that a bit of a slow week, folks?
4:10,
bit of brisk power walking in there.
I am trying to slow things down. Look at my run this afternoon.
Yeah, I keep thinking you're sick when I see that stuff uploaded.
Yeah, no, I'm trying.
Few warm-ups and cool-downs bringing the pace down, really. The rest, if it wasn't for the warm-up and cool-downs on your workouts, then...
Your 4:03s, Moose. Like, I haven't run any, like, other than the session, I've run no 4:03s. 4:20.
Mate, I'm looking at it. It is 4:10s, 4:13, plus then there's okay.
Can you start paying for Strava, Croak, so we can see what your gap is?
Yeah,
Because
it's about time, mate.
You said the long run is claiming on tax or something. You said the long run was much harder, so you were 10 seconds a k slower over 280 metres. I want to know, does that equal like 350 gap or 355?
Nah,
It'd be interesting
not that.
to see.
Wouldn't be 15 seconds a k.
Wouldn't it?
280 metres. No, over 280 metres over 28k wouldn't be 15 seconds a k difference.
Okay.
Hey, Croaks, guess what?
What?
2023, I've run 30 more K than you.
Oh, gee, your boy Matt Fox has smoked you on the average pace too, Croaks. He averaged 4:10s for the week.
And you were training for a marathon in that period too, Moose.
No, I wasn't.
You're not even on the top 100, Moose, where I can see the paces. You must be slower than 4:15 pace.
What are you talking about? Top 100 what?
In our Strava group, you were coming 95th, Croaks, for last week's fastest average pace.
Really?
Yeah, 95th with 4:15 for the week.
I wonder how many of them are better than him.
I was 80.
Faster.
Yeah, I was 82nd with 4:14.
Who's on top then?
So it's people who have only done like one run for the week. So I'm gonna ignore anyone that's only ran
less than 80.
Yeah, so there's a few people like averaging 4 minutes for 120, 130 Ks for the week. I don't know any of the names. There's 5,000 people in here. Here we go. Around 30, you get people like Archie, Jordan Tyler, John Dutton.
Around 30k a week.
Matthew Schumberger, Dave Ridley. Around 30th out of the 100. Tom DeCano. Right. They're all sitting between like 30th and 40th with like under 410 averages, 405 to 410.
Okay. Do you look at that?
No, this is the first time I've actually been in this thing for ages. And then I just saw there was a post here. Someone was thanking us for the mention of the World Cross Country stream. And that was like 16th of Jan. So that come up, new post. And I'm like, oh yeah, from 2 months ago.
Hey Moose, how would that kangaroo lady go down with you if she was like abusing you for being on a path that you're allowed to run on?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. And
she was swearing at me.
But what did she think you were going to do? Run up and kick it in the leg or something?
Well, I'm guessing she didn't want me to like scare it, and then it would then try and like bounce away with a broken leg.
How did it break its leg?
It is quite sad when we come across one out of Barmer one day. I reckon it had been hit by a car or something, and they left it there, and it was just kind of like stuck in the middle of the path.
Yeah.
And you're
I saw one.
Yeah. It's a bit, you don't know what to do because you're like, well, should we do something to put this kangaroo out of its misery, out of its pain? But then at the same time, you're running along just in shorts and singlet and, But you don't just want to
Well, that's what she could have done. Like, she could have put it down or whatever. But, like, abusing me for running on a path that I'm allowed... And the kangaroo's 15 metres away from me. Yeah. But, like, I've seen kangaroos, like, almost kill themselves out on run. So the Centenary Trail around the back of home here... we were running as a group one day, and the kangaroo obviously got scared, and then they start trying to bounce away, and they went straight into like a fence, and they would have they did some serious damage doing that. But you're in the middle of nowhere, like you've got no I'm not running with a phone, you can't do anything, and it's sad. It's sad to see, but what pissed me off about this lady was that in a month's time. You can't run in there because they're killing kangaroos. They do kangaroo culling through all the the parks here in Canberra, and so it's like you're abusing me for this one kangaroo that I've had nothing to do with that kangaroo. I'm 15 metres away from it, and what's to say I don't live 500 metres down that path? I'm going home.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're stewing on it anyway, mate.
I can't believe that. This has really rattled him, this one.
The good thing was, after I went past her, I had 10 minutes to go, and I'm I was looking forward to the finish, and it just gave me that little bit more adrenaline of the last 10 minutes flew by.
Bit of extra anger to throw down in the last few Ks. That's what the overseas listeners are thinking, talking about kangaroos dying, and Anyway, Julian Spence, take us through your week. You had a big Sunday.
Yeah, well, my week was much... I didn't expect it to be so big. I ended up running at 127k or something, which was 127. I don't even know what it was, but I'll have to have a look. It was got out of hand actually on the Sunday because it wasn't actually going to be like that. I started on Monday. I went out in the morning. I did 2 short runs. Took Theo out on the Ridge Track, we call it. It's like a closed track that goes down towards the beach. It's a nice trail actually. I didn't take him over the Great Ocean Road, but out and back, just cruising. And then next that Arvo I ran with Pia and Brady. They were on the bike, so we did 7K. And body was starting to feel good. I like breaking my Mondays into 2 runs now. I feel like I recover a bit better. Tuesday morning, an hour. Take the dog early, then go and do my normal run. So I ran like this kind of half town loop kind of thing that I got going on. Good sunrise though that morning. There was a few, I reckon there's a bit of smoke around for some burn-offs and stuff. You can sort of see some of the trails that I run in Brady. This is a bit different to the Moama industrial estate.
What am I looking at moves? I always, for some reason, I did see these ones. These are beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually did see that and I was like, this does look like a wonderful place to live.
It's a very good place to run, that's for sure. I did a workout the next morning, but I just started to feel like kind of how you described it, Croaks, about waking up with your sore back. And this was a hard one for me. I was struggling to get moving. So I did a workout that was like it was like a yo-yo. So I did 5 float, 5 steady, 4 float, 4 steady, 3 float, 3 steady, 2 float, 2 steady, 1 float, 1 steady. Except I went from the steadies were more like hards outside the 5 minutes at the start. The gap paces, this is a 30-minute total workout. So I didn't want a long workout, but I wanted something that was like more tempo / threshold focused than going out and doing like intervals. So the gap pace on this is the pace that gives you the better example of how hard I was working, because there are a few lumps and bumps in it. So the 5 minutes, like the float was. Do you want me to give you gap pace or do you want me to give you normal pace? I'll give you normal pace.
Give us normal, yeah. I don't know.
3:33 and the on 3:20, 3:25, 3:07, 3:20, 3:04, 3:16, 3:07, and then by this stage I was struggling a bit, and so I wanted to go down 5 seconds per K on each of the reps. So this one here was 3:21. I wanted that to be 3:10, couldn't get it, and then 3:03 for the last minute. So I did end up getting it. But if you go off the gap, I went from 3:32, 26, 21, 17, 17. So there was progression there. And if you go off the gap of the ons, it was 15, 7, 2, 4, 2:58. So there's progressions there if you look at like the adjusted pace over the hills. So it was an okay workout. I mean, it gave me 3:18 total.
You just lose all that efficiency, don't you, Moose, when your back's not quite right. You just feel a bit clunky when you feel like you then have to overreach to hit the times, or
well, you're not efficient at all. Like for me, like it feels a lot harsher too. So I lose power out of my hips, and I mean the glutes are like the real drivers, and if they're not functioning properly, then you do have to make up for that loss of power elsewhere. So whether it's like hamstrings or you're trying to pop more off with your calves, but to me it just feels like I start fighting too much.
Yeah.
I got to wake up.
Workout.
It's okay when you look at it.
3:16 at half an hour.
3:18
for the gap though. It's 3:16.
Yeah, it just felt really hard. Like, so this was one where at 26 minutes in, I was in a box, and the last 4 minutes was me really hurting, and I didn't expect to get there in this workout, but I found myself in that position. So, I mean, 4 minutes out of 30 isn't that bad to be hurting that long. when I've kept it under control a bit earlier, but still I didn't really want to go there. But it done, whatever. It got the job done. And
you may have explained it, and apologies if you have, because I was reading some of your Strava comments, which are quite entertaining. But the paces, what were you aiming for people who may want to try this at home?
I was aiming for the floats. It was 3:35, 3:30, 3:25.
Oh yeah, sorry. More like what's that equate to though?
You mean like relevant to my?
Yeah, like you saying like marathon down to 10k or 5k.
Yeah, a bit over marathon.
Like that. Yeah, okay.
A bit over marathon, and then the on's about 15 seconds quicker than the floats.
Okay. Start a bit slower than marathon pace.
Yeah, and then like the floats get quicker.
Yeah.
And the ons get quicker.
Yeah.
So as you get towards the end, the floats end up becoming as fast as the original ons were.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just
looks like a fun workout to try.
It's
nail.
winding it up, and then by the end you can expect like your rest.
You've wound it up too much.
Yeah. Your rest is like a 3:15 pace, and your ons is 3 minute pace for me.
Oh, I'm going to try that one day. Looks fun if you can get it right.
Yeah, it's hard
take a few to get it right. Hills. Yeah, and it might even on flat. It might take a few to get right.
Yeah. You need the watch. Like the Coros that I've got, it's a little, like, it's kind of scattered when I look at average pace for the lap. Like it can jump really quick because it's only, say I've got a minute rep. I look at it 20 seconds in, it can be very different to 40 seconds in.
You talk about taking bends though?
Yeah, there's a few bends.
Yeah, I find if I take bends, it jumps significantly, which it should because you've got to slow down pace around a bend.
And it's not so much slowing down pace. I think it's just taking, like GPS, it's hard to get an average pace over like 10 seconds and 20 seconds. And so you can, you just need a little bit of a longer period in the rep to get a good, accurate read on it. But by the third rep, like 5 float, 5 on, by that 4 on, you kind of know what pace you're hitting. Or the effort you're after. I did a double the next day, so I was up real early actually, 5:54. That's some blue collar stuff right there for you. Got out the door, headlight on, got back in the door, headlight on. So that was full headlight run, and then I knocked off work slightly earlier because I was at work pretty early that day, and did another double. And in the Arvo, how good do doubles feel in the Arvo? I haven't done doubles for so long that I forgot how good afternoon running feels like. Body just so much more dialed in.
Haven't worked hard enough, I reckon. Doubles feel like junk if you had a big day at work.
Well, doubles are good if it's only... like I can do 30 minutes after work, but if I have to go out and do an hour after work, if I've had a big day, that sucks.
Yeah, that ain't me. It's my second run. It's the short run, 34 minutes only. And then what was the next one? Oh, Saturday morning went down to Aries. Doki and Millie got married on Saturday, so we ran with Doki and a few others in the morning. It was pretty fun little run. Ran through Aries and stuff. This was when my fucking Strava's turning into some sort of social media account with people commenting.
That's what I was getting distracted about.
Yeah.
Every single run has a stack of comments on it.
I know.
It's like the Let's Run forums on your Strava comments, message boards.
I don't particularly love it either. I would prefer. Can you turn commenting off, maybe?
Well, you bring some of this on yourself, Moose.
I know where this is going too, because Sunday it really lit up, and I feel like everyone's now joining in. Like Croaks is obviously the king now. Everyone's like, okay, can I get as many likes as Croker does on Moose's posts?
And everyone's just liking his shitty comments just because it's a fun game now.
Just cracked 200 by the way.
I did it.
I've
been that all the time, Croaks.
Oh wait, that was Friday. Yeah, they got married Friday. Got home relatively early. Went and ran in Geelong the next morning at an event. It was like Saucony Geelong Cross Country Club type meet-up running company Geelong. So we did 10K, gave a couple of shoes away. And then the next morning was, that was a double. I did 2 10K runs that day. I felt good again. So this is where I started to run a little further. Listen to the Zane Robertson podcast. We'll have to get into that later. The next day, I did Ellie's workout again. So she's obviously getting ready for London. She had a big marathon workout. It was 28K steady. I woke up feeling shit, like really shit. I took the dog for a walk and I felt like I had the flu, had a headache, was real sore through all my joints. And so I thought, this is going to be tough. Got out to the run, did 5. I thought we had a 2K warm-up, but then Ali said it was 5. So I thought, okay, maybe I won't do as much of the workout as I planned, because all of a sudden the long run was getting longer. Got into the workout. We did 2 kind of big laps of this area where the Geelong Cycling Club, this is like their territory out here. They had a race going on while we were running. So it's pretty good road surfaces, pretty flat. There's one section where there's quite a few cars that came down, so that wasn't that much fun. But it's a good marathon area, good marathon training area. So we were really good, like in terms of how steady the pace was. So we start out worked into it. First K 3:45, second K 3:42, third K 3:44. But we climbed 19 meters in that third K. So the gaps were 3:44, 3:35, 3:29. And then from there on, I'm not sure whether there was a K outside 3:31, 3:41. So we were pretty dialed into this kind of mid 3:30 range. And we did cover some hills. So within that 28K, we climbed 140. So it's not that hilly, but there are a few bumps out there compared to running around Albert Park. It was pretty good. I mean, Ellie, she started to feel it late. I felt fine. I felt like my calves got a little tight, so I'm going to have to address that because that was what sort of pulled me up at Osaka. Yeah.
What shoes?
I wore the Saucony Endorphin Elite here, and it was just tied a little too tight on my left foot. My foot went numb, and I got a blister. So I need to get the lacing and stuff right on the shoe. It's amazing how a tiny little thing in a shoe can have that much effect when you're out there for an hour 40, just banging away at pace. I think I'm coming back to the Alpha Fly again. I've never had an issue with them. They've been the ones so far.
Do you run a PB? No, that was Vaporfly.
It was Vaporfly.
Have you run a marathon in Vaporfly, in Alpha Fly?
No.
Croaks? Gold Coast last year.
Yeah, that was the only marathon, yeah.
So that was Alpha, was it?
That was Alpha.
Both your PBs are in Vapor?
My PB was the 4%, the original 4%.
Yeah, so was mine.
Mine was the 4% Flynet.
I lined up and bought those shoes for you.
You did.
You wore them straight out of the box.
It was risky.
That was risky.
No, that wasn't.
No, that wasn't. Yeah, sorry. That was Berlin.
Still got my brand new pair, a 4% Flyknit. Oh, yeah. Never been worn.
Anyone want to buy them? Hit up Croaks.
Red ones or blue ones?
They're red ones.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that's nice. That was a good colour. Just that, what do they call it? Crimson with the white tick.
Yeah.
That is a nice shoe.
So, Moose, you copped a bit in the comments here from Croaks saying why, pretty much. I haven't got it in front of me at the moment.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, read it out.
Mate, your marathon has been and gone. Should have done this 8 weeks ago, not now. Smiley face.
He always adds a little smiley face when he's having a dig. He does the same thing when he has a crack at me.
Well,
he's like, I'm having a crack at you, but I'll give you a smiley face.
There's some truth to it, because if the shoe was on the other foot, Moose would be like, what the hell are you doing? It's like you haven't run over 30K for 8 weeks, and then you've just banged a 38K with a pretty solid 28K in the middle. And your motivation's high and you want to, rebuild and do everything right. It's not the smartest thing to do, but I also understand why you did it.
Yeah. It's definitely there are more ideal there are more ideal workouts I could have done or more ideal ways to structure my week right now, but there's also more to it than the ideal. And this isn't bad for me right now, I don't think. Like, I didn't feel like it was risky. I at any point I could have pulled out. And I said, I might even only just do one lap if I'm not feeling it. The dumb thing was running the 5K at the very end, because that took my daily from 33 to 38, and I was fucking cooked. Because I had gels, but I left them in the car by accident, and I got to the end of 38 with no nutrition, and I was starting to get dizzy. That put me in a proper hole.
Yeah, and could have been a 1K cool down.
It should have been, but Ellie was digging me, like digging me about only doing a short cool down. So
that's where you need to be the bigger person, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but
like, you're helping her out with these sessions to get a first look at how she's actually feeling on them. Like, it's not a competition. You're the coach, she's the athlete. You don't need to get digs and cave to peer pressure in that situation.
And
you've got to show her the leadership moves.
She would beat you in a marathon at the moment.
No, she wouldn't.
Yeah, she would.
She's talking about on road to London.
If you saw me and her at 28K of this workout, I was like, let's.
Yeah, she'd have a hunch. Look at her, like how much fatigue she's got in her legs compared to what you've got, though. You got to take that into consideration as well.
You're kidding me right now.
She said on road to London, though, that she paced Nagoya at the same pace that you pulled out of Osaka at, and she did it easy, and you were cooked at halfway when you pulled out.
I also did it easy. I just had sore legs. It's different.
You want to put a slab on it? What's your session this week? Ali, bury him for me.
But Moose, that's also the point, is the fact that you pulled up sore from this, whereas Ellie was able to go and run an hour today. So, like, the difference is Ellie could have kept running on, yesterday, whereas your legs are cooked. Like,
put it this way, Moose, you reckon you would have come 19th at the World Cross Country Champs at Bathurst?
Yeah, I thought about that. I actually
thought,
the ladies
race?
Yeah, I would have. I would have dusted them.
You're not great at cross country, are you?
Do you know what I was thinking about? I was specifically thinking, imagine how awkward it would be if they chuck a man in there. Like, no one's going to cheer for that man in that race, even if they're coming 19th and they're beating, like, say they go ahead of Bridget Cosguy late or something like that. It's a fantastic run for that man, running outside his league. Still no one's going to cheer for him.
That's a weird thought,
It would be a really sad day for him. Because no matter how good he was going, even if he was, say you chuck a 2:30 guy in there and he beats these girls, and it's like, this is an incredible run from this man, no one gives him any credit.
You think some odd things.
I had a full-on run where I spent most of it thinking about how that would play out. It's weird that you brought that up.
Okay. That's a good week from you. Recover well. Wednesday workout now, won't you? You're not going to go Tuesday after that on a Sunday?
No.
It's Thursday the way he's feeling.
There's actually there's a bit of a hoo-ha about this Wednesday. There's going to be some filming and stuff going on for a
Tempo Journal again.
An advertising campaign, New Balance and stuff.
Oh, here we go.
He'll get himself back up then.
So I might ask if Ellie wants to come along and do it with me.
The ads have just disappeared from that last time. Were you getting all those ads, Croaks?
No, I wasn't.
I was getting them, like, meet the Surf Coast Track Club. I'm like, I don't want to meet these guys. I've got to talk to one of them every Monday night. The algorithm was getting me good. Too. Were you getting them?
I was getting them. And then I'm getting Bree pop up in another campaign.
Yeah, she's been popping up.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It works, doesn't it? The algorithm works.
Yeah, it's getting through to me. I'll whistle through this week, fellas, because we've got a lot to cover. Monday.
Do you know, actually,
Yep.
Wait a sec.
Okay.
Do you know that Surf Coast Track Club post, I think it got something like 1 million views.
No, it's not real views, though. Because when you swipe, it just starts playing, and that probably counts as a view.
Of course it's a view. You saw it. You viewed it.
Yeah, but I'm not sticking around. I'm just keep scrolling. My thumb is working overtime to get that off my screen.
Look, you're talking to me now about it.
True.
That's a view.
True.
That's registered in your brain somewhere where you're like, oh, good looking bloke. I'll come back to that later. Swipe.
With stupid sunglasses on, yeah. Monday, 70 minutes, 4:46s. Afternoon, 7.5K at 4:20s. 5 100-metre strides with spikes on the grass. Remember that, because I'm going to get to that later on. Tuesday, 6 by a mile at 3:12 average pace off 90 seconds jog between. Got in my notes here in the diary, too dark, too dangerous. It's just too dark in the mornings. Moose, you said before, head torch, trying to run at a pace when it's that dark on like shitty streets that don't have like great lighting. And especially the tradies, I think we started just before 7 or maybe just after 7. But the tradies must start at 7. So they're all driving at like 80k an hour to get to work on time, probably drinking their, I don't know, Big M's, scrolling on Snapchat. And a couple of times we run like towards the cars, and then we just had a couple of hairy, situations where I'm just like, nah, we can't do this now for the next couple of weeks. We've got to go a bit later in the day or figure out something with our routines because just can't happen. And you're not sure where.
Is there nowhere for you to run without cars?
Like this is a pretty small country town. There's not a lot. I have got a spot later in the week I'll talk about, but yeah, not continuous. Like, and if you go to those places, they don't have street lights because they're quiet, so they don't have like lighting.
Yeah, but you got a headlamp, right?
Nah, I don't have a headlamp.
You don't have a headlamp?
No, and I don't want to buy one.
That's insane that you don't have a headlamp.
I might have to get one. Can you run at pace with them though?
Yeah, you can these days.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah, they're only, like, I've got a headlamp that weighs 35 grams.
Okay.
And it puts out 200 lumens.
Yeah, right. I think I've had this conversation last winter. I might have to get one. In the Arvo, I got out for 30 minutes at 4:35s. Wednesday, 70 minutes easy, 4:31s, listening to the road to London, 30 minutes in the afternoon. Went down to where they set up the Southern 80s ski race. That was good, seeing all the tradies get all that set up. Fencing, big TVs, things like that. Then Thursday, Croaks, you would have seen this on Strava. This was the steady pace, just getting the jogging ticking along a bit. I did 18k at 3:51 pace, which there was 3:51.
Wasn't that hard, was it?
No,
Wasn't that hard?
It's actually easier than doing a midweek long run because it's over in like 70 minutes instead of being out there for like an hour 45. It's just a weird pace to lock into because, like, my legs are like... So it was 3:51 average, but I think I probably hovered around... once I was kind of warmed up, there was probably a lot around, like, 3:45-ish, I think. It's just like my legs are like, do you want us to go threshold or tempo pace or do you want us to jog easy? Like, they're not really used to that pace, so it took me a while to kind of lock into it. But I quite enjoyed it. I didn't mind having the K-splits on too. It makes you kind of... You get that endorphin hit, or not endorphin, you get that dopamine hit every like 3 and a bit minutes. Kind of flashes up, so you're like, oh yeah, stay on task here. Whereas my default is to just like let my mind wander, just occasionally look down to see how many minutes have passed. And yeah, I think we use running for different things in our life. And my default is to use running just to clear my head and jog along and let my mind think about all types of things. But this is like you got to be tuned in and keep a track of how you're going. But I did quite enjoy it.
Are you happy with the 3:51s or you reckon it was a bit too quick?
It's flat, remember?
Yeah, it is flat. 35 metres.
Moose is feeding his dog.
It's gone, yeah.
It's gone. Always switches off when I start talking, this big fella. In the afternoon, though, Croaks, I got out for 30 minutes at 4:37s. And then on the Friday, I was over the darkness and I had to get to work a bit earlier. And a lady from Hudson's Daycare told me about this new housing estate that they've got the roads made and the lights turned on, but there's no houses in there yet. So I thought I'll go out there and see how I'll get on. And I could get about 500 metres with 2 sharp, like right angle turns in it before it went to darkness. So I just did a reel. I couldn't be stuffed, to be honest. I was kind of a bit over it, just tired. That time of the term, Croaks, you were talking about. I was just like, I'm just going to do a minute on, minute off, a real kind of like basic C kind of workout. Got it done, kind of hovering around 3-minute pace. And then, yeah, just ticked it off. 30 minutes in the afternoon after school. Saturday, 60 minutes at 4:33s. A bee like kind of like clung to me and was just trying to sting me through like my t-shirt. And then I kind of stopped and tried to like, swat it off. And then I was running along and it kind of like kept flying with me. Then it attached itself to my shorts. So I kind of just had to give it a bit of a flick and then took my t-shirt off and just fanged it for like 100 metres trying to get rid of it. So that was eventful on that run. And then Sunday, 32k, 3:59 average. Pretty good loop, 32k loop. just by myself. Got rolling the last 5K because I looked at my splits. Still had my Ks turned on, Croaks. You'd be proud of me. And I knew if I could run under 350, I think it was, for the last 5K, maybe something like that, I'd average 359s. So a good week, but I got a bit of a sore hammy, which I've had before, like real up close to the butt cheek, which is kind of like a 1 out of 10 pain. And it's from doing those strides in spikes, full gas. I've got to just stop doing that. Like, it's good to run fast and stuff, but every time I do it, I just get this, I think it's high proximal hamstring, which I've got the drills to sort it out. But there's no need for me to be running 230k pace for 100 metres just to kind of work on that top end speed. I don't need it. Also, join the gym, boys.
I was going to ask you about the gym.
Yep.
Is there a treadie in there for you to use?
There is.
There
2
you go.
brand new treadies. So I like hills, and I found a location which I'm a bit disappointed because I know this location's there, but I'd never kind of thought of it for running. It's about 40 k's from Echuca in a direction that like I never drive. Colbinaban, Carop. I think Allie's actually born in Colbo, isn't she, Moose? Do you know?
No idea.
I think, this real like town population of like 9, I reckon it would be.
Where is it?
Colbinaban it's called. It's in between kind of like Shepparton, Bendigo, Elmore, through there. I've looked at some loops. I've made some like, I think it's about a 12k loop where I can get 200 metres of elevation gain. So I'm like, hey, we got to go out there, do that 2 or 3 times. We can get some metres. Brand new treadmills in this gym because it's a brand new gym that's open in Moama. So I went in there, signed up, got my old gym program. I'm going to get in there and just,
Send us a pic of the treadies. You might be able to get some elevation on the treadmill.
Yeah, a guy did. Oh, wish I knew their name. Someone did leave that in my comments saying like, hey, have you ever thought about just getting the treadmill rolling?
What day is he going to... Where's the gym going to fit into your program?
Tuesday. That's my work from home day. So I reckon I'll do a workout in the morning and then I'll go to the gym. And I think I'll take this week as a bit of a down week because this hammy I've nearly sorted. It's like a little... It's like 1 out of 10. It's nothing. I can smash 32k and it didn't even flare up this morning. But I just want to take this week. I've done 3 weeks of like 170, 160. Just want to maybe put this week at 120, 130. Get into the gym because I'll get a bit of DOMs. It'll take me a few weeks in the gym to sort it out. But I think
only one gym session a week?
I think I'll go Tuesday, Friday and cut the double on a Friday. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I'm playing with at the moment. But... yeah, it was good. I liked going in there, joining. I went, paid. I'm like, get me in here. Voted for the state election, then went to the gym. So it was my Saturday morning. Anyway, let's talk about some Patreon supporters, Croaks. You got 2 people to thank.
Yeah, so the first one's Hans Christian Arnes. I'm not sure if I've pronounced that right, but he's from Nittedal in Norway, which is, he's northeast of Oslo. Couldn't find much info, but he may have run 251 at the 2019 Nordmarka Skogs Marathon. So thank you for your support, Hans. And another Norwegian, Lars Reinsnes, possibly lives in Bergen. I think he ran 37.55 at the Centrum Sloppet 10K. His comments from that run via the Norwegian to English translator was tough track, nice to get a negative split. Surely there must be some speed/BMI classification I can top. So must be a bit of a big boy. Ran 82 minutes at the recent half marathon. 82 minutes at the recent Barcelona half and 2:58 at last year's Copenhagen marathon. Think he might be doing Boston this year. And pretty sure he's a telecom technician in the Norwegian Armed Forces. So thanks for your support, Lars.
Thank you.
I reckon the Norwegian Armed Forces pretty tough.
Yeah,
we reckon they're a real soft one.
Have they been to any? Yeah, like Vikings moose back in the day. They'd be real tough.
Are they Vikings anymore? I reckon they're like from Oslo.
You still get it in your blood. It doesn't just disappear. That kind of stuff.
See that new movie coming out?
No.
About is there a new movie or a series about the? Oh look, I saw it just before, so I'm going to guess what it was. It looks like someone, maybe the royal. Is there a royal family? There is. Royal family maybe went to America while Hitler was wanted to invade Norway or something, and is a bit about Norway and the Second World War.
Okay. Who are you thinking?
Oh, yeah, Sigrid Andersen. Another Swede. Scando, though. She follows 25 people on Strava, and Christian is one of them. Whoa, that's... What's the attraction with Christian anyway? I don't get it. She ran 3:23 at Valencia Marathon last year, and lots of running in the snow, which I'm guessing is quite a common thing when you live in Sweden, Finland, and Norway.
Yeah, it doesn't look well. I don't know. I guess it could be fun, but looking at her Strava photos, it's it's significant snow as well. It's not just a little dusting on the road. It's pretty deep.
You got to run in some waterproof shoes with spikes on the bottom of them. Thanks, Sigrid.
Thanks, Sigrid. I'm going to thank Raj Paranandi. According to the Power of 10 website, he has ran 15:42 night of the 5K under lights at Battersea Park, 32:51 leads Abbey Dash, and 73:07 at the Chester Half Marathon, and 2:41 at the 2019 London Marathon. It's these are all the races I hear from on those UK podcasts. Of course, you hear about London everywhere, but those other ones, hear about them a lot from the Inside Jogging Boys. Pretty sure he's the Chief Operating Officer. Get this, that's the COO for Europe, Middle East, Asia, and the APAC at Market Access, which is a leading fixed income electronic trading platform for institutional investors and dealers. This is a big dog. I looked it up. The company he works for, they trade $385 for one stock, USD, on the NASDAQ, boys. Revenue last year, 718 million USDs, 744 employees. This is interesting. We just created this little podcast, and to think that Raj is out there listening to us and support us on Patreon.
But notice, Brady, there's been a bit of a class warfare going on at the moment, because a few people have messaged in saying, I'm another blue collar, like I'm a Sparky, or I work for the council, mowing lawns and stuff like that. So there's a bit of a battle on.
Yeah, if you want do you want to support us on Patreon, though? It doesn't matter what your job is. We'll find it. We'll read it out when we thank you. But the place to do it is patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast. There's still 5 weeks left of the road to London. So you could sign up this week, cram the last 5 weeks, and then be on the journey with Sinead, Nick, and Ellie. Plus, there's over 100 bonus episodes over there. So if you like what we do, if this show brings you value and you're happy to support it, please, Inside Running Podcast on Patreon. Let's go to run news, boys. Brisbane Track Classic. Moose, see any of it? This meet for me was a bit meh. I didn't feel like, I guess because it only had the steeple and I guess the 800s, but nothing in between. Bit hit and miss.
Yeah, well, by the time I got my phone out ready to watch it, I missed the ones that I wanted to see. So in the steeple, Matt Clarke, he had a great run. He ran 8:26 meet record, beat Ben Buckingham. So that's a bit of a surprise there, I reckon. And he beat him convincingly, 6 seconds. Liam Cashin, the big fella, had a good run, 8:41. In the ladies, Cara Feain-Ryan, also a meet record, 9:38, so she's finding some form. She beat Stella Radford, who ran a PB, I think, 9:39, and Brielle Erbacher was 9:40. So it was a pretty tight race from those three girls. 800 metres, probably like the big one of the night. Cat Bisset ran a world qualifier, 1:59.74. She beat Ellie Sanford, 2:55, who beat Linden Hall, 2:01.48. So I think PB to Ellie Sanford as well. In the mains, James Preston ran 1:47 to beat 1:47 flat to beat Jack Lunn at 1:47.15, with Jamie Harrison 1:47.39. Mm-hmm. So all this is sort of leading towards the national champs this coming weekend. I think it is, correct?
Yeah. Yep, starts like Thursday, I think, for the Open. So I think Ellie Sanford's run, I think that put her up to like 15th fastest all-time Aussie.
Yeah.
15th?
Yeah.
Okay, jeez. That shows the depth now, doesn't it? Remember a couple of years ago when like Cat Bisset was trying to break 2?
Yeah, not that many have broken too. So you're running within a second of that. That's going to put you up there. There was also the New South Wales milers meet. In the 15, Connor Whiteley ran 3:42. He beat Ethan Wyatt-Smith. And Stefan Music was third. Fleur Cooper won the ladies in 4:20. Beat Piper Simpson and Katie Porra. 800s were on too. Lawson Fittler ran 1:51 to beat Mason Cohen and Jonathan Mika, and Laura Roth was the ladies' winner in 2:06 over Ada Rand and Sarah Baker.
Australia's most stunning running event returns this May. Join thousands of runners and walkers of all ages and experience levels as they unite in Victoria's idyllic southwest coast to take part in the 2023 RACV Solar Great Ocean Road Running Festival, Saturday 20th and Sunday 21st of May. From 1.5 to 60 kilometres, punters from across the globe will tackle 9 distances, including 2 trail runs for our adventure seekers, and soak up panoramic seaside views on one of the world's most scenic stretches of road. Secure your registration now at greatoceanroadrunfest.com.au.
Okay, I'm going to go to the Zane Robertson news now. So Zane Robertson, who is the 10K half marathon and marathon New Zealand record holder, he has tested positive for EPO at the Great Manchester Run, which was in May last year. He holds the Oceania record as well in the half marathon. So he must be just quicker than Brett. I think he was 59.46 or 47. Yeah. Brett would be the next quickest, wouldn't he? Second in Oceania.
Yeah, and then Brett's like 57 or something.
Yeah,
59-57.
Was facing a 4-year ban, but it got increased to 8 years after trying to blame a Kenyan doctor, saying he went to get COVID vaccination, but instead was administered EPO. Has since been on a few podcasts and admitted that he made that story up, and he was kind of desperate to get off his 4 years, and he kind of saw 4 years as the same as 8-year ban. It was interesting, I read today, Stuff, which is a New Zealand publication, they had learned that the test that led to Robertson's downfall was not a random in-competition test, as common carried out at major sporting events, but rather a targeted test arranged and paid for by New Zealand anti-doping authorities. He was third at the Com Games 2014 over the 5K. He's done a bit of media since. Phones were lighting up in message groups all over Australia, I think. Thursday morning, boys. What day of the week was it? Maybe Thursday morning. And
I can't remember what it was exactly. I know it was.
But big news. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Someone was talked about a lot over the years. That's not the one you're mates with, Croaks. That's his twin brother, Jake, who you went to, you're at Lake Biwa with, and he's been on the show a couple of times since then. This is Zane, who ran at the Gold Coast when he ran 2:08, the New Zealand record there. What do you think? I've got a few comments down here below. I've listened to both the podcasts that he's done, but Moose, thoughts initially, and then, what did you think?
Thoughts initially was kind of hits close to home, not because, because they're from New Zealand, and so they've got Oceania records, right? And they've been friends with some of our friends, and so, Zane Robertson spent a lot of time with Ed Goddard last year. They were in Europe together a lot. They were hanging out heaps. So we're seeing him a lot more than we would see a random Kenyan get done, or whether we'd see a Russian get done.
Sydney Marathon last year as well.
He did. They've sort of been a bit of, they're almost iconic, the twins, because of their story and their kind of out there type characters. So they've been in our feeds a lot, and we do know a lot about them. The first thing that I saw a headline, right? Zach posted in the group, New Zealand athlete, 8 years, doping ban. I'm like, it's a Robertson. Why would I have thought that first? Is it because they live in Kenya? Is it because of the kind of, I don't know, life they live? But that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, which Robertson is it? And it turns out that it was a Robertson. And then I said, I'm quickly to a few people, I'm like, hey, check this out. And they're like, least surprising doping bust I've ever seen. So the general feel out there was that this was happening. and this is from not like insiders. This is from the general population who have just sort of been watching, going like, this isn't a surprise to me to see
that's
this.
from running nerds though. That's not from the general population who are runners. I don't think. I think there's a lot of people in message groups who are like, okay, this comes at no surprise. But I think general running people in Australia and New Zealand it may have.
When I say general population, I'm talking about my general population.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not talking about your school teachers at school. I'm talking about people that I talk to who...
I'm talking about like general park runners who keep an eye on the results, who would know him.
Yeah,
it would be a shock for.
It probably would, yeah. Well, I'm probably thinking a bit more ingrained in the running community.
You're thinking about AV people who bang 20 milers every week.
Yeah, and they've said that, and all of a sudden, like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, that's not fair that you've been thinking, oh, he's been doping this whole time. But turns out it is fair because they were fucking right in their own heads. They thought it was happening, and they were right about it.
He has come out, Moose, and said that he only took it once. He got it from his ex-wife, and that one time he got caught.
Look, we could spend. We have to. I'm not going to. We know from the podcast that he's in a really precarious position with his mental health, and so we have to respect that. And so I don't think that gives you an escape from your actions being discussed, though. And he has been on 2 podcasts where he's come out to what he calls tell his story. And so if you're going to the media with your story, you have to expect people to pick it apart. And that's kind of our job as, we'll call ourselves commentators on running, is to give our opinion on it and pick it apart a little bit. And so that, like, there's so much to pick apart from that podcast, but I'll just got to summarize, I think. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties. I don't think that they're the smartest individuals, and so I think that this has been handled really poorly, like in how everything has been played out, especially lately, like so fast and so quick, and I think it's been really rash in how it's been portrayed.
You would agree that it feels like they've never had a support system in place since the first Flow Track documentary when they went over there. It's always been about us against the world, in a sense.
That's how they've asked for that.
Yeah, and I think that they thrive on that environment,
exactly.
Proving people wrong. But it seems like there's very little support in place for the.
They left support. They left their country to live in another country, in another nation, away from their, like, where there would have been a potential support network, I would have thought.
Yeah,
like,
I just feel he's very vulnerable at the moment, and I really do question the people that did those podcasts with him, because I don't think they had his best interest at heart. It was probably more about how they can individually get downloads and take advantage of someone who's in a vulnerable position, and that's where they need people in their corner saying, this is what the statement needs to look like. No, we're not doing little, running podcasts or whatever. Like, yeah, but there was content in there that shouldn't have been released. The stuff about self-harm and suicide, I'm just saying, I think the support systems aren't there and have never been there for those guys.
It sounds like Athletics New Zealand has actually offered a great deal of help around this.
Yeah.
That's what I came out of it with. Like, they sent people to Kenya to look after him.
Yeah.
They had people on his door, like, almost immediately by the sound of it.
Yeah. But then when you listen to the way he talks in that interview, and it doesn't sound like it's worked, or they're still there.
I don't think it just works like that. Like, if someone shows up and all of a sudden you're better. But that's the support.
They would have a media team, though, surely.
Well, they're not. Their job's not to provide media team for, like, part of support, like psychological support, is not a media team to handle this bloke's doping announcement. Yeah. Like, it's. Yeah. Anyway, like, moving on. I think he's still lying through his teeth. I don't like the fact that he says 8 years is the same as 4 to him, and so why wouldn't I go and make up this story? It means that he has a total disregard for for truth, and he has no issues being dishonest if it works for him. So I don't believe what he says about it being the first time. I don't believe what he says about bringing it across borders or whatever. I think he's doing that to save his position in Kenya right now. I think it's been going on a long time by how he talks about his past races and stuff. It just sounded so vague. He can't explain how he took it, or he just skips over a lot of stuff. So he wants to tell his story, but he's not actually telling his story at all. He's telling us what he thinks will make him look better about doing it. And also, like, his main reason for doing it is I couldn't keep up anymore. I kept getting injured. I wasn't fast enough to get contracts or make prize money. Now, you're just explaining an athlete coming to the end of their career right there. Like, that's not justification to cheat. And there's a lot of people in this world that do suffer from depression, but it doesn't mean that they go out and they cheat and they break the law and they steal from other people, which is exactly what he's done. So, like, to me, you can't use that as an excuse in my mind. And you can't use financial reasons as an excuse. He says, I can't have a family unless I was doing this. Bullshit. You can move back to New Zealand. You get a job like the rest of the fucking population. Like, your career as a distance runner was ending because you weren't fast enough to keep up, or your body wasn't handling it. That's when you make the bigger decision, the human yeah. So I think it's disrespectful to those living below the poverty line and not breaking the law, not stealing from people to access financial gain or whatever. Like, I was thinking, imagine if I was in New Zealand and I was like slaving away in a job like that I didn't want to do for the betterment of my family, and this bloke's explaining how he can't live in New Zealand, it's too expensive, so he has to go and cheat. That actually really pissed me off when I heard that, and that's what I referred to when on my Strava of throwing my phone off the cliff. Like, there's other ways to make money outside of being What are you going to do when your body broke down at some point? Let's say it was 1 year from then and you get like a long-term injury. It doesn't give you justification to cheat. I found a lot of holes in it, and I wasn't going to go that hard, but now I feel like I have. Obviously, he's like, and the other thing was, he says, "Oh, it's not fair on my brother." Like, you fucking knew that this would draw your brother into it. You knew when you injected yourself, however many times you did, you knew the consequences of if you got caught, which would be everyone would lump you in with your brother, which is going to happen. Like, it would be stupid not to do that. You guys lived for 16 years in the same spot. You do everything the same. There's going to be question marks on your brother now because of this. And it's your fault, and you knew it would happen before you did it, so you can't complain after you got caught that it's happening.
Who won that race, actually, the one he was tested at? Ran 60.04, I reckon, last week. Jake, your mate Croaks. Brad, comments? What do you think? The first thing I actually thought, I was like, oh, he'll spill the beans. He's pretty loose with the way he talks and stuff, and doesn't beat around the bush, but he's kind of said he'll put himself in danger if he talks about where he got it and how he got it and who else is on it.
But if he goes back to New Zealand, what sort of danger is he going to be in? I doubt anyone from Kenya is going to go and try and track him down or whatever. Like, I think he would have come across better if he did sort of open up a little bit more, try to get to the bottom of the whole doping that happens over there. Look, I don't have much else to add from what Moose has said. I haven't listened to any of the podcasts because I'm just like, well, what's the point? Like, he's cheated, he's got caught. I'm with Moose. I don't think it was the first time. Like, you've got to be pretty dumb or unlucky to get caught the only time that you've taken EPO. But it's sad as well, because I remember maybe 10 years ago before I had a family, and I saw what they were doing, and you heard their story, and you're like, man, like because I'm a little bit older than those guys, but I'm like, man, that's brave. You're like taking that gamble of just leaving your home to go and be one of the best distance runners in the world. And, maybe it goes to show that if you're in that right environment, then you can be as good as the Africans. But obviously there's more involved than just the altitude and the trails and the training there. So
his PBs weren't ridiculous though. Like they weren't. I'm just looking at them now. 13-13, 27-33, 59-47, 208. Like we got Australians running all those times.
Yeah, but I don't think they weren't world beaters. Like I know they were young when they went over there, but they weren't like medaling at world championships. Like I don't think they were world beaters when they went over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I still think I actually came out of it thinking, are we too harsh on doping as well? Like, are we focusing on this a little too much, as if it's more of a crime than what it is? And I put that to Ali yesterday in the cool down. I'm like, do we treat this like it's much harsher? Like, are we too harsh on this? And she was pretty quick to shut me down and say, no, they're literally stealing from people when they're doping. Like they're taking away the opportunity from someone else to survive, to pay for their food or their rent or whatever by doing this, by cheating.
It's just hard to know what to believe these days. Like, you see these two brothers and you're like, it's a bit of a Cinderella story in a way, like what it was, these two brothers heading over, leaving their country, and then actually, achieving some pretty good results, which, at some point should have already stopped. And like, I reckon they could have made some decent money just on tours and talking gigs, because it's a pretty incredible story that they've.
Remember, man, you were going to go Clarke, weren't we?
Yeah.
Remember Jake had got some accommodation and we were like, let's go over there and see what it's like.
Yeah. But also the whole, at some point you can't be a professional athlete your whole life. And so at some point that has to end, and you do have to become then a normal person and go and get a normal job. Like there's mornings when I wake up and I don't want to go down and teach. But what gets me down there is, well, it's not so much for me, it's for my kids and my family. So I'll go and do it. And that's the attitude that, these professional athletes at some point need to just realise that that's how everybody else lives.
Good chat, fellas. Croaks, World Athletics released statement on transgender athletes in the sport.
Yeah, so I only read up on this afternoon, but there's two issues here. So I'll deal with the transgender decision first, and I'll just read a bit. So track and field has banned transgender athletes from international competition while adopting new regulations that could keep Caster Semenya and other athletes with differences in sex development from competing. In a pair of decisions expected to stoke outrage, the World Athletics Council adopted the same rules as swimming did last year in deciding to bar athletes who have transitioned from male to female and have gone through male puberty. No such athletes currently compete at the highest elite levels of track. So let's deal with that one first. So that's dealing with the transgender. So males that have gone through puberty that then take all of the hormones to then become female. So those people are now banned from competing in female races.
I think UK Athletics also made this call before World Athletics did.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I don't have an issue with this at all, because who knows what advantages. Well, I'm guessing there's probably still some advantage by going through male puberty, even if you go through the hormone treatment after that stage, there's probably still some benefit. So I'm pretty comfortable with this decision. It's the one with the Caster Semenya that is a bit more the grey zone for me, that I have probably a bit more of an issue with. Thoughts on the transgender decision?
I just trust that the people making these decisions are experts in this field and know what they're doing. So when I see it come out, I'm just like, they've got this right. Like you just got to have trust in the system, and it's hard for someone like me to have an opinion on it when I've got absolutely no idea about the science or any qualifications in this field. The one I did like how Ross Tucker summarised it on his podcast, and he was kind of saying the biggest argument against this is the inclusion argument when he spoke about trans women not being accepted into women's sport, and it's excluding them. But he kind of made the point that sport isn't about fairness and inclusion. Like, there's only 3 people that get to stand on the podium. There's only 3 people that we sometimes pick for certain events at the Olympics. There's only 8 people that make the final. So it's not this, everyone gets the same outcome in high performance sport. This is, for me, I guess I don't know if it's going to get the backlash that they think. How did they word it in that statement? Outrage. I think it's probably been pretty well, stoke outrage they used in that statement. I think it's going to be pretty well received.
The argument comes from the opposing side that this isn't a problem.
Well, is it? Because has it happened? I know Nikki Hill's been really big on it. There's a quote there that says, there are currently no transgender athletes competing internationally in the sport. Then how is this an attempt to protect women's sports? Would be so cool if they actually address threats to women's sport like sexual harassment, lack of women in leadership, and unequal representation.
Yeah, well,
which I thought was a really good point.
That's another point.
They're trying to get to this before it becomes an issue, though, aren't they? Potentially.
They've seen it happen in again, I'm not around the science. But I'm trusting Ross Tucker. I listened to that podcast the other day.
Did you like it?
And I did like it, but that's my only source of, at the moment, that's the only thing that I've really listened to on it. And he seems to be pretty confident in the science that suggests, it going through male puberty, you cannot change that. You will always be at a physical advantage if you've gone through male puberty. So a biological male who transitions to female after puberty, you're in a much stronger physical position, regardless of how much the hormone stuff that you do. So I think we haven't seen it yet, and that shouldn't be the main argument. I don't think. I'm kind of with Ross Tucker on this one. You're starting to see it in the swimming. I know there was a swimmer, a male swimmer, who transitioned and won all those NCAA titles. But yeah, it's a dicey one. I feel like it's common. It feels like common sense to me, in that maybe you're losing touch of reality to say that. When you look, just use an example, right? A 6'6", biological male that's ripped and stacked transitions to the javelin, and who's competed in javelin, who has the technique and the skills. If he transitions and becomes identifies as female, she's still 6'6" with a big skeleton that can throw a javelin. I know there are some ladies that are 6'6" that can throw a javelin, but this is where it's sort of the fairness thing comes into it. Or
100% agree, Moose, and I'm sure there'll be people out there listening that'll send us messages saying that we're uninformed and they don't agree with us. But I think if you're born a male and you've gone through puberty, regardless of what happens after that, you shouldn't be able to compete in female races, and that's essentially what has happened. And I think that
hasn't, though. It's not happening, is it?
No,
not at this level.
It can't happen now because they've made this decision. The one that I don't agree with quite as much is the second ruling, and that deals with Caster Semenya. So, obviously she was running 400s, 800s, but over the last few years she's had to move up into longer distances. So I'll just read some of the stuff that's come out. So Semenya and others have been able to compete without restrictions in events outside the range of 400 through to the 1 mile. So that's why she's moved up to the 5K, Francine Neon-Siba from Burundi. She was running 800s. She sort of moved up to 3K, 5K. Now, and that's been fine. But now, in order to compete at next year's Olympics, these athletes would have to undergo hormone-suppressing treatment for 6 months, something Semenya has said she will never do again, having undergone the treatment a decade ago under previous rules. Under the new regulations, athletes in the previously unrestricted events, so that's events longer than a mile, would have to suppress testosterone levels below 2.5 nanomoles per litre of blood for 6 months. Ultimately, they would have to stay below those levels for 2 years. Previously, athletes with differences in sex development had to lower their testosterone to below 5 nanomoles per litre of blood for at least 6 months before competing, and the rules only applied to distances between 400 metres and 1 mile. And so I know in the article that I read that Francine Neon-Siba, she said that she wouldn't undergo the hormone treatment, which would then obviously put her out of the next Olympics as well. And so this is the one that I have a bit more of an issue with, because if Semenya is born a female, yes, there's a condition that she generates more testosterone than your traditional female, but essentially she was born a female. Now, that's, you're never going to have a fair playing field. Ian Thorpe had size 13 feet. He's an advantage over some guy that has a size 10 foot. But you don't say, Ian Thorpe, can you take 6 inches off your foot or whatever to make it even? Somebody has a higher VO2 max than somebody else. Like, we don't, you're never going to have an even playing field. So I find this one a little bit more unfair for people that are born females. Like, look, if you've got more Moose, you've probably got more testosterone than me. So
I'd say so, mate.
There you go. So we're not competing on an even playing field. So this is the grey one for me, where I don't completely agree with them having to suppress testosterone if that's just their genetic gift. There.
Born that way.
Good from you here. Let's just leave it at that, Brady. I don't think we can do that.
Nothing to add.
No, this is all a bit. This got technical here. This has always been a tough one with Semenya.
Yeah,
I feel like she's been mistreated a lot, actually, in just even the media about how she's been depicted. I've always felt quite sad for her.
Yeah, I just think you can't always have an even playing field. Like the transgender stuff that we were talking about before, like that to me seems a bit more cut and dry. Whereas this one, it's like, well, bad luck to the women of Semenya's generation. Semenya is a female, but she has high testosterone. You just have to deal with it, this one is much more of a grey area for me.
Yeah, this is above my head. Above my pay rate here. Listener question. Do you want to move on?
All right.
Go, Croaks.
Comes from Finnabad on Instagram. How do you incorporate hilly tempo into your plan? Do you go by feel, heart rate, or other? Thanks, guys.
Good question.
It is a good question.
The old hilly tempo.
Want to go first? Well, Brady, do you got anything to add?
Used to do this back in the day. I used to have that much time on my hands. I'd drive to Bendigo, do a hilly tempo, drive home when Richard was coaching me. We used to go on feel. Used to go on feel. Used to go on effort, and I would have certain trees. We used to do 10k hilly tempo. Certain trees at certain points of the loop where I'd know how I've tracked through there in the past, and that was the only kind of indicator to know how I was going overall, because they just hurt. Hilly tempos are hard. Doesn't matter how. I always felt like if you could, you're pushing hard, you're pushing a bit easier, you're trying to take the hills a bit easier. You're always heart rates through the roof, and they're hard to do. So I used to always just work on effort and then check the pace at the very end of it to kind of give me a full indication of how I was going.
Yeah, I think pace is irrelevant. I think that's where people get into the trap of being slaves to their watches, going, I normally feel like a 30-minute tempo will average this. And they're still just trying to run that, even going up and down hills, and they get like 10 or 15 minutes in and they're like, oof, I'm not going to make 30 minutes. But I think if you're new to them, there's a few different ways of doing it. Like in the past, like I've done things where I've surged, like run the hills hard, and then not really had a prescribed, but just being able to back off a little bit on the flat or the down. So you're basically running hard up the hill and then just running to feel in between. So that sort of stops you from maybe overcooking it a little bit. Another thing I like is having turning it into a bit more of a fartlek where, you have, 3-minute reps on 90-second sort of float. And obviously if you're running uphill on the float, you're just going to dial back the intensity a little bit just to get the heart rate back under control for your next rep. Whereas if your 90-second recovery or float is on a downhill or flat, you can sort of get rolling a little bit more because you're still going to be able to get the heart rate under control in that recovery. So there are a couple of tips. And obviously heart rate, you can use that, but just, realize that when you get to something that's really, really steep, your heart rate's going to go through the roof. So you have to, if you're going to run to heart rate, you're going to have to really slow down significantly on those hills.
Yeah. I gave a hilly tempo the other day to someone, and pretty simple instructions. The workout is, this is just what I wrote to him. The workout is to be a solid effort. Don't go to race effort, but I do expect you to be feeling pretty cooked by the top of the big hill. And that's like a 5-minute uphill at about the 6K mark of that 10K tempo. So you have to be taking it pretty easy up that hill to not be cooked at the top. And when I say cooked, I mean like breathing hard and feeling like you want to rest. So I'm all right with a hilly tempo for the uphills to be hard, as long as you aren't pushing too hard in between the hills, if that makes sense. I don't mind them being a harder effort, the hilly tempos, than a flat tempo run. I expect them to be harder than flat. Heart rate wise, it's going to be. I don't like if I'm on a flat and I've got an athlete running a tempo, then I'll give them a maximum heart rate. And if it's a threshold, let's say it's a 25-minute threshold, I don't really want that heart rate ever going over threshold if there's no hills out there. There's no reason for it. But if I'm giving someone 25 hilly tempo, I kind of expect it to go over on some of those sharp or longer uphills.
Yeah, it's going to spike for sure. All right, moves on the loose. This show's been going a while here. Nearly
been
through
going
all
a
the
while.
segments.
Yeah, you covered a few of my already moves on the looses.
What do you mean?
Haven't you? Well, I've already, you were logging them in a book. You were logging them in a sheet for me to tick off, but you've already done a couple.
I think we recorded the show last Monday, and then I reckon stuff was just coming at us Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's just remember these for next week. There's going to be some stuff to talk about. But I don't know how much of it's appropriate for air.
Well, I heard about some artificial crowd noises at on TV at the Brisbane Track Classic. I'm not going to comment on it, but because I didn't actually see it or hear it, I guess you would say. But that's pretty rare, I reckon.
They must have thought we're back in COVID, because remember the footy used to do that.
The footy noises.
That was real bad, wasn't it?
It was.
Is that actually is that a sign of how many people were there that they had to put crowd noises in? But anyway, wasn't there, so can't comment on that. What about, this is a bit of an annoying one for me, is the signing up for a AV membership, and it has to be a specific time of the year. Otherwise, say that it runs from, what is it, April onwards, Brady?
Yeah.
Do you know when? If I sign up now, am I just paying for until April 1st or something?
It's usually pay in April every year. Get you all winter, then all summer.
Yeah, but when is it though? Is it April 1st? Is it April 5th? 10th?
It'd be after Nationals. So if you weren't registered with a state body and wanted to do Nationals this week, you'd have to pay it, and then it'd be only valid for 2 weeks until the year jumps over.
See,
they've advertised, haven't they, their prices? So it must be soon.
It must be soon. So it makes it really tough for Giles Park runners, like for not the runners, but the admin to get people signed up. Like, what if it's not the right pay week or the right? It can be tough to get someone signed up with that sort of outlay right before the race. Whereas if someone's able to pay for it in December, they should get a year out of it, I reckon. I like the yearly membership that someone pays, and I reckon that would get people more involved in the track season too. Because
I think what they should do, sorry to cut you off, but just offer a winter and a summer option. Like I pay my like $350 for the year pass, but I only do the winter.
No, you do some track. You do Zatopek occasionally.
Yeah, haven't for a long time. But yeah,
Box Hill and that's AB.
Oh yeah, I haven't for a while. But you could do the Box Hill Burn invitation.
Yeah.
At least get the option in September to go, well, do you want to renew it for the next 6 months? Because the AV, the XCR product is I think the most successful product. I love that AV winter.
But if you come in, like say you've got a new runner to, like we get it all the time. We have athletes come into our coaching groups and they're really keen runners, and it's like
a hard sell.
November, and I say, oh, you should go do this race. It's like an AV race right on the track. And then they go in and they look at the fees and they're like, how much is this just for one race? I'm like, oh, no, you get until... And then you look at it and you're like, oh, you only get till March, yeah. Like, I reckon if you want to get people doing more track stuff, you either offer less fees for the track season if they're signing up after cross-country, or you let the membership go all year.
Yeah,
and
that's a great idea.
And you just renew when your membership's up. And you get a bit a heads up on it.
There'll be a lot of people in the opposite boat of me as well who just want to they don't want to pay in April and just want to do the November through to March.
100%.
Yeah, track guys, sprinters, pole vaulters, stuff like that.
States are different as well. I think New South Wales, their membership starts at the start of the summer season, so like October, and runs through. So the start is they basically summer and then winter, whereas you guys start with your winter season for your membership.
Yeah, my car rego also used to always be due in April, so you're just outlaying $1,000 in April. That you just I know what you're talking about.
More than that.
Car rego.
Plus.
And AV.
Yeah, that's more than $1,000.
Okay, it's a bit of a moose is confused, isn't it? Can we think about other ways to sort these registrations?
Well, just make it.
4
I
weeks,
want to get more people doing it. Because we often chasing blokes up. Say you got a 20-year-old at uni and it's 2 weeks out from Giles and you're like, hey, we need you signed up. And they go, fuck, I can't afford it.
Yeah, it's a hard sell sometimes, isn't it? And trying to get that rec. But then they're happy to pay big entry fees for fun runs.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty good value for money. I think if you get the season pass and pay the registration, it works out at $38 a race.
All right.
I'd have to check that. Maybe that's just for the season pass. Leave that with me. We never actually catch up on things we speak about the week before. There's a number of things we should do a clarification from last week's things we got wrong segment every week.
What else did we get wrong last week?
A lot of questions were asking. This was a good one. So, Croaks, when you want me increasing my pace on the easy runs, is it to beat up my legs more or is it to get my heart rate up? Or both?
Probably more to add a bit more fatigue in your legs, I reckon.
Yeah.
So then you're just building some, going into some of these sessions a little bit heavy just helps build a little bit of strength. But also from an aerobic point of view, as we said, you running 445s, your heart rate is not going to be very high given your fitness and given that there's no hills whatsoever. So having 1 or 2 runs a week where you're more high-end aerobic is going to get you fitter as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of things coming into the inbox about that. What were you going to say, Moose?
I think it's good for your legs as well to be closer to the gait cycle that you'll be running your marathons at too.
Yeah.
Because it's quite, for you, it would be a very different running style at 445s versus 315s.
Yeah.
but you get that down to like 350s, all of a sudden you're starting to use muscles that are closer to race day.
Yeah, there we go. A few people written in about that. Few people
few people took my comment about 440 being like a glorified walk or something like that. Like, I was exaggerating to prove a point. I wasn't actually saying that 440s is walking. But I noticed
you were
people
saying
also...
For me, 440 should feel like I'm walking.
Well, especially
not for any runner in the world.
No, given you have no elevation either. Like, it's different. 440s running over hills is different.
Look, I still reckon we're wired certain ways. I still think how we get into running, what we've done over long periods of times, because that still doesn't feel easy for me, that 350 pace, because I've done 15 years of running easy at 430 pace, so that's ingrained in me. Same as 4 minutes feels easy for you because you've done 15 years of running 4 minute pace.
I reckon you were running a lot faster a couple of years ago, and then you
guys told me to slow down. Now you're telling me to go faster.
And then you switched to going real slow.
Yeah, Sean Crichton interview.
But I even find, like, my gait, like, if I force myself to run slower, like, I sometimes feel just really uncoordinated because it's just completely different to what I've always done. And it would take me a long time, I think, to get used to feeling, I don't know, like smooth at that slower pace. I almost feel like I'm more efficient at a slightly faster pace from the way that my foot hits the ground, and I just get that sort of momentum and I don't have to put as much sort of effort in. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like when I'm running I force myself to run really slow, I just don't feel quite as efficient. So... But speaking of last week, we also had people writing in about mooses, like maybe slightly disagreeing with like running more and, you know, how much is, for example, like 100K for somebody might be like 10 hours a week, where for somebody else it might be 13 hours a week. So like, should it be more on like time as opposed to volume?
Yeah, well, I mean, time. It should be time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, well, I guess distance and time. I've used distance, but if like time is the right what's the right word there? Time is the right. What do you call that word?
Right, metric.
Metric. Yeah. Time is the right metric, because obviously if you're out there for 30 minutes. And then coming back home and doing 30 minutes of some core thing you saw an influencer do on fucking Instagram and said this is the way to run better. And there's a lot of them lately. It's come out of nowhere. People send it to me all the time. These new influencers that seem to be playing footy last week, and all of a sudden they're teaching me about running on Instagram.
But then Moose, there's also the comment that wouldn't things like focusing on sleep and whatever it is, like massage and all those sort of 1%ers, wouldn't that help you run more?
No, because you have no time left to run if you're focusing on those things. That's the thing. Like, if you've got time to sleep 9 hours a day, but you don't have time to add an extra half an hour onto your run in the morning, then that, to me, that doesn't, everyone's situation is different, okay? But in the general case of things that I've seen, people that want to improve their running should do it by running more often. That's a very general statement that I would think would apply to 8 out of 10 people that come in our store. Yes, of course, someone there might need to do a lot more physio work to get their injury up. And yes, someone's already working off 5 hours of sleep, so perhaps they need to sleep more to improve their running. But the rest of us, go to bed a bit earlier, wake up earlier, run a little further.
Here's a question for you, Moose. So for people like us that have been running for a long time and we've developed our aerobic engine, do you think we're almost at the point now where we would get more benefit by cutting 30 minutes off a week and focusing on going out and doing some drills and some strides and trying to move more efficiently as we're a bit older than running an extra 30 minutes?
Yes, I do. I think we should do more gym. like as aging athletes, I reckon gym should play a bigger part.
Yeah.
But that's not the person I'm talking to here. I'm talking about someone who's got into their running and is looking to progress. Like not that's already run 100-mile weeks in the past. This is someone who's like looking at running going, how do I get better?
Yeah.
But you're right. We like someone who's already run high mileage for a long time, it's probably not the stimulus required to get better from this point. You would want to use a different stimulus.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got there in the clarification section of the show. What's coming up? National Australian champs this week on the track. No fields yet, I don't think, but we'll see what happens. There'll be a stream.
Fields, the start lists are up.
Stewie running?
Stewie's always on the start list for both the 15 and the 5K.
Ollie Hoare coming back, your boy from Boulder?
Didn't see him on the start list, no.
Okay. Anyone else? Big names? Jess Hull will still be here?
Yeah, Jess Hull's down for both 15 and 5.
Abby Caldwell, 5, 15?
Didn't check.
Didn't check. Weren't looking for her name.
She'll be 50. Oh, she's on the 15.
And the Road to London, episode 6 is coming up. What else are you boys doing between now and next week? Anything special?
No, not really. I'm going to do a hilly fartlek tomorrow.
Oh, yeah? I might give Moose's workout a go tomorrow, I reckon. That one that you did, Moose. 5,
you
4,
just
3,
want to
2,
go
1.
and do that, smash up my time, fucking have a little brag about it, get a few comments. Get a few comments on Strava, a lot of kudos.
I don't get any comments compared to you. No one's commented on my Strava.
Remember when Brady did some session, like he was real stoked with his like Mono Fartlek or something like that, and then he challenged all of our listeners to see if anybody Moose Fartlek to see if anybody could go further than even Clousey did.
9.3k. Yeah, look where Clousey is now. No one's heard of him for 2 years, that bloke. He was the only bloke that went there.
Clousey's doing bench press.
Moose, what do you got coming up?
You got this workout on Wednesday, and then this weekend, I reckon there's something on this weekend.
What's your long run session this week, Moose?
5x5k, K float.
No long run session. Just got 45k this Sunday. That's all.
Over hills.
I got our staff. We're having a big staff party because we missed it at Christmas, so we're having a big dinner down in Geelong, getting everyone along.
You pay for everyone? Get the card out?
Of course I pay for everybody.
Open bar?
It's just pretty much.
Remember his last Christmas party or whatever it was? Who did you buy like a really expensive whiskey for and they just chugged it?
Yeah, Luddy.
Fucking idiot. Ben Ludbrook. I'm like, Luddy, Jesus, can you just cough that back up and just go get my $30 back? That was hilarious, actually. I mean, I look back and it's funny now, but at the time I didn't care either. But it's pretty stupid from Ben.
Guess who's coming to Moama on Sunday, boys? Long run day.
Ben Buckingham.
No, it's someone for the kids. You know, Bluey, the TV show. Bluey's coming to the Teddy Bears picnic Sunday in Moama. Bluey.
Bluey.
You've never watched Bluey, Moose?
Bluey, yeah, I've watched that.
Bluey and Bingo. Yep.
I like
It's going to be big in Moama Sunday. Kids everywhere, I reckon.
Have you heard something about this show called Coco Melon being really bad for kids or something?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Have you heard this?
Being bad for kids.
My wife will let Pia watch anything, but as soon as I put Coco Melon on, she like yells at me to turn it off.
Really?
It said it's like
I'm Googling it.
Some sort of addictive thing or something. But I think it's
overstimulating.
They're all just fucking cartoons. They're all designed to stimulate. That's what cartoons are.
Also likely to cause behavioural problems and attention disorders. Hyperstimulating, that it acts as a drug, a stimulant.
Jesus.
All right, that was from the New York Post. Better turn that off the TV. Anyway, boys, wrapping up show episode 282. Thanks for listening. See you all next week.
Have a good week.
See ya.
Experience the Great Ocean Road like never before by taking part in the RACV Solar Great Ocean Road Running Festival this May 20th and 21st. Secure your registration in advance to save at greatoceanroadrunfest.com.au.